Hi, my name's Kevin Chow, and I'm a fourth-year engineering physics student at the University of British Columbia. I haven't really been an anime fan for maybe as long as some people have been, but I think that provides me a unique perspective on what makes anime a little bit different as an art form when used as a medium for expressing ideas. As kids in North America, we pretty much all start off by watching shows like Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh!, and for everyone that's usually their first experience with anime. I know I'm no exception. I used to wake up every single morning at 7 a.m. hoping and praying there'd be a new episode of Pokemon on TV. Even still, I'm not super convinced that the 4Kids dub of these children's TV shows really is a good introduction to what is possible with anime. I'd say my first exposure to the true capabilities of anime came when I was about 9 or 10 visiting my friend's place. He said he had this show that he was just dying to watch, this cartoon, and that was fine by me. Up until this point, all animation I'd ever seen had been heartwarming Disney Pixar films or simple fun cartoons on TV. But suddenly we were watching people yelling and running for their lives from these giant robots fighting and exploding in the background and shooting at them, and did one of them just die? This was some really intense stuff, and we were only a few minutes in. We never really did finish watching Gundam Seed Destiny together, but I remember this experience as being really eye-opening to me. I mean, wasn't this a cartoon? How in this was any way for kids? Admittedly, it was almost a decade after that before I ever actually seriously watched my first anime series. To be completely honest, I never really saw myself as the type to commit to watching an entire show. I mean, one episode of a cop drama here or a sitcom there during dinner was fine if it was on TV, but I'd never seek out a show to watch, let alone an anime show. I mean, to me and to most people I knew, anime was this weird and obscure animation which very rarely showed itself unless either online or very late at night. I mean, in my high school, if you were a fan of anime, that was a pretty unpopular opinion, and not a lot of people were outspoken about that. It wasn't until my last year of high school, I think, that a good friend of mine finally made a recommendation to me that he'd been dying to tell everyone for such a long time. He told me it was a show that was about tackling loneliness, existentialism, and regrets, while also having amazing action and characters, and the music. Oh, the music. And so, by his recommendation, I sat down and watched an episode of Cowboy Bebop. And then I watched a second episode, and then a third, and then a fourth, and I'm not certain how many episodes I went through that night, but I know for certain I was easily done by the end of the week, and wow. There was something so captivating about these characters and their lives and adventures. But wait, it can't be over, can it? Shows just don't end. Isn't it supposed to keep going until people stop watching the show? There has to be something wrong. I went back to my friend for advice on what to do, and his recommendation was simply watch more shows. And so he gave me 2 more recommendations. And starting as a new anime fan, I watched Steins Gate, followed by Neon Genesis Evangelion. And these were both amazingly unique experiences to enjoy. Steins Gate was this one continuous serial drama which had me on the edge of my seat the entire time, whereas Neon Genesis Evangelion was this psychological analysis of the morals and motives of these characters, and broke pretty much everything I knew about TV at the time and left me in a state of existential dread, quite frankly. I could never see these shows being made in North America. I'd never seen anything like it. But even still, this was some of the best TV I'd ever seen. So what gives? In my experience since as a fan, anime has always seemed to be this medium in which creativity flourished and ideas weren't afraid of being explored. It never ran itself into the ground, but it always put forward new questions and ideas and concerns which I'd never even considered before. It also always felt like a lot of time and effort was put into creating very memorable characters and interesting worlds, which were always worthy of great discussion and analysis. I mean, where else do you find a show which puts forward the questions of what and where human consciousness is, like Ghost in the Shell, or which detailed the contrasting morals and ideals of dozens of different characters, none of which being truly good or evil like in Legend of the Galactic Heroes, or which simply had epic space battles between giant robots, while still exposing the fact that war is hell and humans suffer as a result, like in the Gundam franchise. All these different shows have shaped and taught me over the years, and the ideas have always been very worthy of consideration. But what makes anime so special? Why does anime seem to have these traits so commonly, but other shows just don't? Ultimately, I think it just comes down to the economics of it. TV is an expensive undertaking, and anime is no exception. Up until very recently, most Western television was paid for almost exclusively through its ad revenue. As a result, I think you get shows which are primarily procedural episodes with easily consumed content and have a lot of mass appeal as a result. It seems to be profitable in the long run, but it results in shows which are only ever designed to have mass appeal and just keep going as long as people keep watching them. And the studios, as a result, are a little bit unwilling to try anything extraordinary and just follow the same formula time and time again. The anime industry, on the other hand, follows a completely different economic philosophy. Most shows are either based off an existing franchise and intend to promote the original, or they exist to sell some sort of merchandise, like a toy or a figurine. Even shows which don't follow this exact same profit model still make most of their money off of DVD sales as opposed to ad revenue. And I think this results in shows which are a little bit more concerned with creating very dedicated fans and long-lasting franchises as opposed to just have mass appeal. As a result, I think you get studios which are a little bit more willing to experiment and try new things, as they may create shows which will have very dedicated fan bases to profit off of. Unsurprisingly, my 3 favorite shows of all time follow this exact same economic philosophy. Legend of the Galactic Heroes is based off a novel and was sold as an OVA, meaning if you wanted to watch it, you had to buy the whole thing. Cowboy Bebop is a pretty interesting example in that it was originally pitched as a way to sell spaceship toys, and the original airing only showed 12 of the 26 episodes, meaning if you wanted to watch it, you had to buy the DVDs. And Evangelion, well, I'm pretty sure at this point a significant portion of the Japanese anime industry is just Evangelion merchandise. All the best and most popular shows of all time follow this profit model. Code Geass sells its DVDs, Love Live sells its music singles, and Gundam sells its Gunpla. I think ultimately this is why anime studios are so willing to put the time and energy into creating very memorable characters and interesting worlds, as it creates dedicated fans they can profit off of. I think this is the major factor in what makes anime the special little gem it is. But what does that mean for the future? DVD and Blu-ray sales in Japan have only fallen since 2013, so what effect will this have on anime? I think that just like most other people, I want to continue to keep seeing great new shows come out. But I hear people worried that anime might be in a crisis or that it could even be on the decline. In a perfect world, art would be created simply for the sake of art. But it's a simple reality that extraordinary anime will only ever be produced as long as it remains economically viable. This is difficult since the best shows live and breathe in a world where they don't have to worry about ratings or viewership or avoiding certain subjects just because they might not be successful. Anime still needs some monetization in order to exist, but it seems like a foregone conclusion that sales of physical copies are just never going to recover. On the other hand, I don't really believe that online streaming is a magical solution which will suddenly make all good anime profitable. It'll definitely make a big difference, and it'll help certain studios stay afloat, but I'm a little bit worried it might result in shows which no longer care about having memorable characters or interesting worlds, and instead will just try to focus on having as many viewers as possible. Luckily, anime viewership is accelerating around the world at an expanding rate, and new fans are created every single day. To me, this means that the future of anime lies in cooperation between the studios and the fans of the world. In order to ensure that anime remains about immersive stories and remarkable characters and thought-provoking ideas, it's important that fans like you and me support the studios and shows that we all love. On top of that, it's incredibly important that merchandise distributors put a lot of effort into tackling international markets where new fans are created almost every single day. I think the future of anime is promising, and I could look forward to new shows, but I think in order for this to happen, we all need to work together a little bit. So if you like anime and you want it to thrive, go ahead and purchase that figurine you want, or fund that Kickstarter, or even splurge on that Crunchyroll subscription. Every little bit counts. Anime is not going away anytime soon, and I think if we all put a little bit of effort in, the future looks outstandingly bright. Thank you very much.